Hello and welcome to the brand new Joint Police and Fire Headquarters for Nottinghamshire, a 21st century nerve centre in the woods north of Arnold. It's a state-of-the-art new home for our city and county's police force, but today we're looking at what really makes Notts Police tick. Its officers, staff and volunteers. Every year the force recognises some of its people with an award scheme, and over the last 12 months there have been some incredible stories and incidents which have needed bravery, investigative work and dedication. Tonight we're going to take you behind the scenes for a look exclusively at how our officers and staff keep us safe, hunt down criminals and go above and beyond in ways you might not expect. Here's what's coming up. Find out how a team finally brought justice to the door of a criminal after more than a decade on the run, as we meet the cops who finally caught the running man.
So we're straight in, I'm up those stairs.
We've got someone covering the front. Ambrose O'Neill, it's the police!
And it felt good to be calling out his name, you know. Show yourself, police officers with taser, your time on the run is over.
Plus, we'll go on the beat with officers who know their communities inside and out and prevent crime through people skills.
It's what we're here for. It's not just for sort of fighting in the street, locking bad guys up. It's for actually taking the time and caring enough to invest your work into that person and fix the issues and make life better for them again.
You'll also meet some of the people with one of the most difficult jobs you can imagine, investigating some of the most serious and devastating collisions on our roads.
I have a family, I'm a wife, I'm a mum, and you know, when I go to a scene, I look at the scene as if that could be my loved one, and I want the families to know that when I'm at the scene, I've done everything I can, as if, you know, they in mind that they are someone else's loved one as well.
One of the most poignant accolades given out every year is this one. 19 years ago, Nottinghamshire Police Dog Handler PC Jed Walker was killed in the line of duty after being dragged by a moving vehicle while in pursuit of a wanted man. His death serves as a reminder about the risks police take to protect the public. There's now an annual award in his name, given to those who show bravery and self-sacrifice in the line of duty. It's gone to two officers faced with a truly frightening incident. Ultimately, they chose to risk their own lives to save that of a man undergoing a mental health crisis.
So we'd had a call to suggest that a woman's ex-partner had turned up at her house and was skulking around in the back garden. She was inside with her children in fear, worried about what he might be there to do. I could hear a disturbance in the garden. I called out to Joe, who I was with, to make sure that it wasn't him that was the cause of that noise, but it quickly became apparent that it wasn't. So this was going to be our chap. So I've gone further into the garden, I had to climb over some furniture, and then I've caught my first sight of the male in question. And that's when I've caught sight of the petrol can. That's what I saw first and foremost. I could see that it had no cap on, and what I wanted to do was make sure that the officers who were with me were aware of that and were arming themselves in terms of tactics appropriately. There's several officers there carrying taser, and the last thing you want to do is deploy taser at someone who's got a petrol cap open, because you will just create an inferno, essentially, which could harm us as well as that person.
It's talked about at length about how dangerous petrol is, the fumes of it, not just the fact that he's got the lighter, but you've got officers around with taser. I had taser, I know James did at the time as well. And so your first thought is, well, taser's not an option.
As I was talking to him, as I was starting to engage with him and trying to negotiate with him successfully, he started flicking the lighter, and that was the first sight that I caught of that, at which point your thought process starts to ramp up the risk level. And within a few moments of trying to negotiate, it became quickly apparent that we were going to have to arrest him to prevent a breach of the peace.
I turned to the officers behind me and asked as many fire extinguishers as we could. Someone had obviously already had the idea, there was one fire extinguisher there, but another couple came up to us as well, and I asked for them to be prepped, so pins out, ready to go. He
started upending the petrol can over his head. Where it had seemed relatively empty at first, I could hear petrol sloshing around, but it was coming out like a torrent essentially when he started pouring it over his head. And that's crunch time. You either leave him to potentially set fire to himself, not an option, or you rush forward and take hold of him.
I ran forward, I saw James go straight away for the lighter. I tried to reach for the lighter as well and pull his other arm away to try and start to control him.
I've charged forward as fast as I could, grabbed hold of the arm with the lighter on it, and I could feel the tendons working within his wrist, within his hand as I'm holding on to it. He's trying to click that lighter, he's trying to get his thumb to move across it fast enough to spark it up. I could feel the fuel going over me, I could feel the wetness of it over my head, splashing down inside my body armour, and I think that's probably the closest I've come to being seriously injured in a number of years.
And I remember staring at the hand with the lighter in it, seeing him trying to activate the lighter and just thinking, well, okay, we're about to go up in flames, but the people with the fire extinguishers are right behind me, so that's okay, I can't do anything about that, that's not my job at the moment. And just as I thought that, I remember being absolutely covered head to toe in foam and never being happier in my life to be freezing cold and soaking wet in the middle of the night, because it meant that we were safe from the fire, and that was it.
I think when any officer joins the force, when any officer joins Nottinghamshire Police, you hear the story of Jed Walker and other officers like him who have lost their lives in the execution of their duty, and it's quite a moving thing to think about, because we all put ourselves in positions of risk occasionally, and there is always the prospect that one or other of us might not make it home. It means a lot to be considered worthy of winning such an award.
That means a lot. It means more to me, like I say, than any other award I could have received. So I feel genuinely honoured.
Long hours, difficult and sometimes dangerous conditions are all part of being a police officer. But imagine doing it for free. That's what the force's special constables do. People who have the same powers and responsibilities as regular officers, but who work the beat around other full-time jobs and commitments. Each year there's an award for one who stood out even among that dedicated group of volunteers. This year it's a Mansfield special who's been given the accolade for truly going above and beyond.
I'm PC Tremaine. I used to be a special constable, however I joined the force as a full-time police constable in June 2021 as part of the special constable to PC route in that's Nottinghamshire's just ran. I joined as a special constable as part of my university degree, so I joined Nottingham Trent University and studied the policing degree. As part of this you've had to be a special constable and I just was hooked ever since. So after the kind of first shift even, I'd fall in love with it. Even beforehand I knew that I was going to love the role, just because it's something that I'm quite an inquisitive person. It's something that kind of brings out that inquisitiveness of someone. But after the real kind of first week of it, it's just that thrill of not knowing what you're going to and the dangers and everything that can be kind of thrown at you all at once. It's just a good thrill, really. Two years ago, July or June, we went to an incident where someone was just, we had 3 lines on the incident, please help, please help, please help, that's all we knew. So we didn't know who it was, we just knew the location. And we got there and the male that was there, he got quite volatile really quickly. And it ended up with, I had my hair ripped out from the scalp, another officer got bit and another officer was kicked quite badly. Officers are imposed with such dangers on a daily basis. But for me I'm imposing that danger, however I'm also helping those people that are also imposing that danger themselves. When I was a special, I had a bit more responsibility than most specials actually have. So I was holding things like our case files and our investigations that specials normally kind of don't deal with. Which helped when I became a regular, because our training was, instead of 18 weeks, it was 10 weeks, so we had 8 weeks less to learn things. But the things that I'd already learned in my specials career helped me at the same time, and it also helped me to learn how to speak to people effectively, because it's a way of, you can't teach common sense, but you can grow confidence, and that's what being a special constable did.
Next, an award for a team which shows some of the best examples of one of the key foundations of police work, integrity. It's gone to a group of officers and staff who are perhaps rarely seen in the media spotlight. It's the Serious Collision Investigation Unit, who are based here at Joint Force Headquarters. They do one of the most difficult jobs imaginable, and this year they deserve particular recognition for their work, which never stops, even during the most severe pandemic restrictions.
The Serious Collision Investigation Unit deal with all fatal and serious injury collisions or the investigations into those collisions. They are here within operational support and work closely with all the uniform assets around road safety. It is a hugely emotive and impactful role. They work closely with families, with Coroner's Office to investigate those really high level and catastrophic collisions that reaches into the families, and we need to provide those answers. So some of those collisions are a result of criminal actions, sometimes they are a result of other reasons that families rightly expect those answers to.
The team are dealing with a very difficult work area, and it was during a pandemic year, and so that was made really extra difficult. In a time that most people were working from home and involved in meetings via Zoom or MS Teams, these people were out there still doing the job, attending collisions, going to see families and investigating fatal road collisions. Knife crime and domestic abuse are very serious criminal offences, but they attract an awful lot of media coverage and a lot of resources. Sadly, people tend to think that collisions on the road are just something that happens, but for each one there is a reason that they happen, and they don't sometimes get the priority that perhaps knife crime and domestic assault does. But they are even more important to me because every statistic in a road traffic collision means that some member of a family has been killed and won't be coming home that day. During 2020 we had 21 fatal collisions which resulted in 22 people being killed. Obviously that was during the lockdown period where most of the traffic shouldn't have even been on the road. And we were sad to see that unfortunately these crashes still occurred despite the lockdown restrictions. Even more sad is that as we sit here now in early 2022, the 2021 figures are even worse. We've had 33 fatal collisions, which has resulted in 34 people losing their lives on Nottingshire's roads. And we all find that just so difficult to comprehend, that there's 34 families who are now missing a mum, a dad, a son, and we really feel that they don't get the awareness perhaps that they deserve. I mean, obviously for every member of Nottinghamshire Police, utmost honesty and integrity is vital to what they do every day. However, this team is actually working, they've got to answer the questions of the family who have lost somebody. They're working with obviously HM Coroner Miss Casey, who needs all those details about exactly what happened. Sometimes it's very distressing work, but ultimately they're working on behalf of the families in both the coronial and the criminal justice system to make sure those families get the answers that they really need to try and get over what has been, you know, something that they will never get over, but can actually get the answers to the questions. I mean, obviously, firstly, the forensic collision investigators go out in all weathers and out actually to the scenes in the middle of the night often. The investigators obviously are dealing with the criminal investigation or the coroner's investigation, and then we've got the family liaison officers, we've got vehicle examiners, and even the office manager who pulls it all together. Obviously the supervisor is, so your sergeants and inspectors who are checking everything, and this is a whole team effort which ensures that the families get the answers that they need.
It has a real personal toll on them. They often get really involved with supporting the families and trying to give them the answers, and also developing ways that we can improve the safety of our roads. One of the key messages, we don't want any fatal collisions, so looking at the reasons why something has occurred is really important to us, so we can try and change it for the future to prevent any further collisions. I think the team work incredibly hard, and I'm really proud and pleased that they have been recognised with this award. It is a very rewarding job, as most jobs within the police services, but that human toll on the nature of what they deal with shouldn't be underestimated, and I think it's wonderful they are being recognised.
Next, celebrating and recognising a lifetime of achievement and a long career in Notts Police. This PC has spent most of his service in inner city Nottingham and especially in the Radford Road and Hyson Green area. He's known not just for building genuine relationships with the local community, but also for a really effective approach to intelligence and crime prevention. He's also stood out for supporting vulnerable victims of crime in his area. Let's take a look at the life on the beat of PC Mark Tyndall.
Right from the days of school, I always wanted to be a policeman. I basically applied to Nottinghamshire Police. I was lucky enough to get an interview and thankfully passed the various assessments and got in. The unique thing I would suppose I've brought to this whole organisation is the fact I've had the most remarkably unremarkable career anyone's ever had in Notts Police. I landed at Radford Road, as I say, in 1993. Loved the place. I didn't want to leave. When I'd done my time in response, perhaps 8 or 9 years, I got offered the job of beat manager, and I was lucky enough to get that. And really, it's just been, I think, the unique point of sale for me is the fact I've been here and I've seen these people grow up here. I've seen the baddies grow up into sort of fathers, and they've got kids of their own now. I've built up relationships with the local shopkeepers, with the councillors, with the mosque leaders, with the school head teachers, with mental health services, with various agencies, and I can act perhaps a lot quicker than a lot of the other cops in the area because I've got the contacts to do so and also the reputation to fall back on. If I gain the trust of somebody, then I know I've done my job properly. As I've mentioned previously, these people, unfortunately when I get to meet them, they're usually at their dire straits and need help. In order to do that, it's my greatest honour to be able to actually fix a problem for them, to improve their lives, I think is what makes a police officer. It's what we're here for. It's not just for sort of fighting in the street, locking bad guys up. It's for actually taking the time and caring enough to invest your work into that person and fix the issues and make life better for them again. I feel like we've made the area so much safer just working as a team together. Whenever I'm tutoring, I'll often express on day one, just treat people as you would another member of your family. If there are people out there in need of help, then they deserve the best service they can get. And if you gain their respect by showing them respect, then it makes the job so much easier. My favourite time of policing really has been the most recent. Since 2018, I joined a team called the Street Offenders Team of very keen, very eager officers, and in doing so, I feel we've transformed the whole block of this area into a place where families can sort of have their kids play in the street. I feel like we've made the area so much safer just working as a team together and taking drugs, guns off the streets, knives off the streets, and closing down a considerable amount of crack houses that were a blight on the area.
You saw earlier how the Serious Collision Investigation Unit strives to bring answers to families in the event of often fatal incidents on our roads. This next award is for Staff Member of the Year, and it's gone to one of the people whose job it is to go out at all hours and in all conditions to the scenes of often tragic and upsetting road incidents and try to work out what's happened.
My role within the Serious Collision Investigation Unit at Nottinghamshire Police is as an investigating officer. So one of my roles is to attend fatal and serious road traffic collisions, to look at the scene and gather evidence and support with the forensic collision investigators and forensic vehicle examiners to establish why a collision has occurred. It's a challenging job. It's not a job that everyone can do. You can be out for many hours of day and night in all weathers, and you can be working long hours. However, it is a very rewarding job that we within the Serious Collision Unit are passionate about finding the answers for the families of those that have lost their loved ones. Collisions could happen to anyone, any one of us at any time. Many of the collisions that we deal with, nobody sets out on that day to often cause harm to another person. And we just need to be aware that with the rise in number of fatalities we had last year, that it could hit any one of us at any time, and we just need to make sure that we take care and time and awareness on the road. Working on the Serious Collision Investigation Unit is a challenge in itself. We deal with complex investigations that are lengthy in the time that they come to fruition, whether it be in the coroner's court or through the criminal justice process. And in that time, it is challenging. We do carry heavy caseloads, but it's the support of your colleagues around us, and that's what makes the Serious Collision Unit so special. In the last 12 months, I dealt with a job that was particularly traumatic and really challenging for me, that over the makeup of the collision for the family's dynamics, that was quite challenging. There was a quite disruptive scene that we had to deal with, and those that were involved in the collision were from a close, small community that all knew one another. And in our cases, there isn't always, a criminal investigation. There isn't always a lengthy prison sentence that will bring anything to the loss that those loved ones have had of their family. And for them to work through that it can be really quite difficult. But ultimately, the reason why we do the job that we do is to bring as many answers as we can to those families, so they can have some sort of closure and understanding as to why their loved ones died the way they did. I have a family, I'm a wife, I'm a mum, and when I go to a scene, I look at the scene as if that could be my loved one, and I want the families to know that when I'm at the scene, I've done everything I can, as if they in mind that they are someone else's loved one as well.
So let's go to our final award, which is called One Team. It's given for great examples of collaboration, and this year's winners made national headlines with their work. Police stations often have wanted lists of people who have skipped bail or are suspected of serious crime, and they often don't stay on the run for long. But one man on the hit list of a team in Gedling had given police the slip for years in previous places. He became one of the country's longest running wanted cases. It would take different officers working and thinking together to finally catch up with him. This is the inside story of how a Nottinghamshire criminal who became known by the tabloids as the Running Man was finally brought to justice. By the way, some of the officers operate covertly, so we've had to hide the identity of the intelligence officer involved.
We've got someone covering the front. Ambrose O'Neill, it's the police! Police officers with the taser.
My team had been doing a lot of work around outstanding wanted people. We'd got the numbers down in the area massively over the course of a few months as a bit of a side project to our general day-to-day responsibilities as response officers. And one of the people that cropped up on our list was the Running Man.
This all starts in 2007 when a dwelling burglary robbery took place in Leicestershire, a dwelling address in Leicestershire. The householders were subjected to a violent assault in order to steal from the property. Must have been a very upsetting, very terrifying actually experience for them to endure. Injuries were caused, and the investigation at that time led to the identification of Ambrose O'Neill as one of those offenders. He was subsequently charged and tried and convicted at court for that offence. So he was being tried, but from a position of bail. So he wasn't being tried from remand. He was free to leave each day of the trial. And at a point during the trial, he just didn't come back and he went on the run.
There was links to newspaper articles about him. It had been a national thing, this male who'd been laughing at cops and been on the run for years and years. He was claiming to be excellent at evading police. As soon as we saw that was our number one priority. Like, let's find him, let's catch the Running Man.
For somebody to just disappear in that manner from all the traces that you'd usually expect them to exist on paper or in the records, the places that we leave a trace in our everyday life, when we join things, when we sign up for things, when we subscribe to things, when we get utility bills attached to our addresses, that kind of thing, just nothing. So a lot of effort was taken, definitely.
Then a piece of intel dropped late in 2020, which stated very much that he was in Lincolnshire, that he was living with someone. That tallied with other intel that we'd got a few months prior to that, but not enough to work on. So the fact that we now had an area within Lincolnshire, that we had the name of a partner, that was enough to start to fine-tune an address for him. But with the running man, you're only going to get one shot at it.
So a lot of effort went in behind the scenes to start to pull this together, and it soon became apparent that we were onto something. The person convicted has not served the justice that they were due. So we were really motivated by that. I remember us all discussing that, and that was a primary motivator to finally bring this home for those victims.
So basically, it was about putting all the pieces of the jigsaw together, which turned out, so okay, this is the time that we've got, this is the day that we want to actually go, and everybody was in agreement. Everybody was on board at the time, so we got the green lights, and that was it.
We were rocking up to work at, say, 2 in the morning, all sat round the briefing table with maps, detailed explanations of what we expected from each individual involved with this, because there was absolutely no chance that any of us wanted this to go wrong. So it was a tense atmosphere, but really exciting nonetheless.
It'll peter out into a field on our right. It's the last but one property on our left, straight up on the driveway, straight to the door.
So we've got to the address, we've knocked on. It's taken quite a while for someone to come to the door.
We're at the front, go.
And it was his partner that attended. But as soon as that door was open, we knew that he was in because of the vehicle. We knew that we were going to find him within. We'd seen movement inside the address, so we're straight in. I'm up those stairs.
We've got someone covering the front. Ambrose O'Neill, it's the police!
And it felt good to be calling out his name, you know. Show yourself, police officers with taser, your time on the run is over, effectively.
Ambrose, where are you? Police officers with taser. Hello, mate. You're right.
Show yourself, and he did, and credit to him, he was a gentleman about it. He knew that the game was up, he knew that his time on the run had come to an end.
We'd managed to fix that down to one address at this one time, so it was like, if we didn't, you know, get him now, then could we have lost him forever?
I can tell you that hearing the words "we've got him" after this much work was a really, really satisfying moment.
So I said, you know, the newspapers are calling you the running man. And he looked at himself and he was stood there in just his boxer shorts with his huge gut hanging over them, and he said, I haven't been doing running for quite some time.
It's been another amazing year for Nottinghamshire Police, and we've seen some fantastic examples of officers and staff engaging with the community, responding to local needs and creating a great environment which is all about teamwork. I hope you've enjoyed meeting some of the people who go above and beyond in the name of public service. You can find out more and see a full list of all the award winners this year on the Nottinghamshire Police website at the address below. That's it from me for now. Goodbye and stay safe.